Hey everybody, it's Dan Boul coming to you from North Hollywood, California. Sitting here in my office at 65 amps. Today is September 25th, 2012. And I'm just going to sit here and noodle with the prototype today, take questions. I'm really up for tech talk. If you guys have some tech questions you want to go over. I have my yellow Les Paul today with some new pickups in it that I got from my good friend Ron Ellis, who's down in San Diego. And I'll tell you what I know about them, and maybe if Ron's on the show, he can jump in. I think he was going to try. I will, Paul, definitely. Those are great questions. Today is the 26th. Did I say the 25th? Hey, Frank, 767-400. This guy's flies jumbos for Delta. He logs in from all over the world. His handles, he flies as 767-400. And he logs in. He's a pilot. It's great. And he's got a couple of our amps, too. Anyway, let's talk about amps and let's talk about guitars. So I have our prototype today, which let me get a little more on camera. There we go. Yeah, good. Good research there, Doug. Thank you. Yeah, all the good blues tunes were written in the 20s. And they've just been recycled over and over again. One of my favorite ones is, what is it? She Don't Love Me, She Loves My Automobiles. ZZ Top did it. And it was a Robert Johnson song. There was another one. There's another Robert Johnson song they did, too. People go, oh, it's a ZZ Top tune. I'm like, no, dude, that's from the 20s. It's Robert Johnson. So, oh, that's right. Dixon did get a lot of money from Zeppelin. So this prototype amp, we're still coming up with a name. We're going to start taking orders on it next week because we think it's pretty well baked now. And for sort of late November delivery. I'm not sure about a name yet, Chell, and I'm really open to suggestions. Let me explain it to you for a bit, see what comes to mind. We had some good suggestions last week, and we'll see what we can come up with. So anyway, it's a pair of 6 L6s. This is our first 6 L6 amp, and we're running them high current, low voltage. So many of you guys have heard this speech many times, but I'm going to say it again for the people who are on for the first time today. Hey, Martin Gooseland, how are you, buddy? We got lots of Scandinavians on today. This is great. The main problem that I run into as an amp manufacturer is the quality of modern tubes, which I'm sure many of you guys have experienced that. And tubes hate voltage but love current. And the reason the tubes fail for the most part is because of voltage. And voltage is just the pressure on the electricity. It's not the amount of electricity. It's the force at which the electricity is flowing. You know, like think of water under high pressure. High voltage is the same thing as water under high pressure. So it's much cheaper to make an amp that's high voltage and low current because the transformers can be smaller. And transformers are the most expensive part of the amp. And voltage and current have an inverse relationship. If you raise voltage, you lower current. And that makes your transformer cheaper because current is the amount of electricity that you have. So if you raise voltage, it's less current. If you raise current, it's less voltage. So if you drop your voltage, your current has to rise. Otherwise, the tube doesn't react the same. If you want to think of like your garden hose, you know, if you pump twice as much water through it, that's high pressure. And but you don't need as much water at high pressure for it to go very far. But if you have a little bit of water, you have to put it under high pressure like you would a power washer. That's a little bit of water. It's not very much water, but it's under a lot of pressure. That's high voltage. And just as the power wand on your thing you clean your driveway with breaks all the time because of the high pressure, so do tubes. They break for the exact same reason, because the voltage is too high for modern tubes to take. And so they fail. So it became apparent to me a couple years ago that in order to keep making tube amps for the long term, I was going to have to figure out a way to do them, lower voltage. And I've seen a lot of guys build lower voltage amps, but they don't raise the current at the same time. They just starve the tube of voltage, and the performance goes down. You don't get the same cool distortion. Your clean sound gets much less organic and musical. So I went over to Mercury Magnetics here in Chatsworth and talked to them about doing, a high current, low voltage thing. And for example, I'm running these tubes at 290 volts, which is 200 volts colder than like a twin reverb or something, or a Showman, or those sorts of things. So they had to sort of make me a transformer that supplies that much current. Unfortunately, it's as big as my head, so it's expensive. But now the tubes are under way less stress. They're really happy, and you can use any tube in here now. You don't have to go out and buy NOS tubes. NOS tubes will sound better, but these are cheap Chinese tubes in here right now because I wanted to design, just to make sure my theory was correct about tube life. I went and bought the cheapest, cruddiest 6L6s I could find, and they sound great. Now, if I put these same tubes in a high voltage, low current, traditional kind of amp, they don't sound very good at all because they can't take the voltage. They misbehave and they spit and they smear and they run really, really red, really hot. These tubes, they're hot, but they're not going to burn you. And the transformer's not hot at all. For those of you that have ever stuck your hand in the back of a twin reverb by accident and got a second-degree burn, you know what I'm talking about. These tubes don't run that hot, and they're barely glowing. I mean, you see them glowing back there, Sam, at all? A little bit. If this was a traditional amp, they'd be going, whoa, big red glow every time I hit a chord. They're fine. So let me get to a few questions here because these are all good. The price on this is the same price as the Producer, which is also, that was my first low voltage, high current amp. And it's $36.95 for the head. And this will be the same thing because the platform on this is really similar to the Producer. We've just made a lot of changes to accommodate 6L6s, different transformers. Circuit's been changed quite a bit. But it's the same basic design paradigm. And then this is great. Luke, not warm, in Canada. Hey, Dan, would you ever consider redoing some earlier 65 models with the high current, low voltage format? Yes. Matter of fact, after I finish this amp, this is going to be our last new Blue Line amp for probably a few years. I just wanted to cover all the bases. So, we have EL84s, 66s, EL34s, 6L6s, 7591s. So you kind of got everything that you need. It's a robust offering. It's got every kind of voice there was. On the EL84, I have 3 different EL84 amps, different circuits, different transformers, 3 different 6V6 amps. And then the next part of your question is, if so, would they sound the same? They're going to sound a little different. The biggest surprise going to this is that in some respects, the amp sounds a lot better. The cost will probably go up a little bit on it. Not dramatically, but a little bit. So really, I just have to change the power transformer. So the amps are already done. That's not bad. It's good. So, yeah, after we get done with this, I'm going to start with our oldest amps and start going back through. And I want to improve them. We've learned a lot since we started. So, like our original London, I want to give it the London Pro functionality. But it will be, somebody's calling me. You can't call me during my show. Don't you know?
Mama.
Good sir. I think this is the barn. Hang on a second. This might be my children. Hold on. This is Dan. Hi, Bunny. How are you? What's going on? Okay. 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 All right, honey. Well, listen, I'll tell you what.
Did we go to sleep together?
No, everything's fine. I'm in the middle of doing my show right now, so I can't really talk. I'll tell you what, though. When we get done, you want to talk to Suzanne and see if you can try to put a regular bridle on her and see what happens. Okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's good. Well, honey, I got to cut you off. I apologize. I got a lot of people here watching me do my show. All right, I love you, sweetie, and everything's going to be all right, and I'll be there shortly, okay? All right. Okay, I love you, sweetie. Okay, bunny. All right, bye-bye. Sorry, guys. I'm a family man first. Um, let's get back to business. Hi from Switzerland. Hey, Bogart Hum. How are you, man? Let me get back to these questions. These were in good order. My daughter's having horse trouble. So it's a day off from school, they're writing. The prototype looks like it's a small box head with two vents. Is it going to stay that way? No. This is just a cabinet I'm using. I don't even think that chassis is bolted in there. It's just sitting in there so I don't have an open chassis hum and make a lot of noise. So this is just to keep it going. It'll look like the producer with the full-size cabinet and the full vents. Yes, Doug, I'll tell you more about the horse trouble offline. Nothing bad, but for a 9-year-old, it's upsetting. Says, sorry if I'm interrupting. How much more expensive will Arna's 65 amps be compared to the ones bought in America? Any charge for shipping and stuff like that? Yeah, they're a little bit more, but Arna is very good about leveraging the money markets. So he buys in when the dollar's weak. But you'd have to look on his website. You know, with the exchange rate vacillating every day, I can't quote prices in Norway, unfortunately. But Arna gives good deals. And the ones that I ship over to Europe are different than the ones I make here. So the fusing is different. The laws in Europe about, safety mechanisms in the amps are different than they are here. So if I make an amp that's completely legal in the US, it's not legal in Europe. And likewise, it's not that one's safer than the other. There's different. If I make one to European standards, it wouldn't be legal in the US. Arna is a super nice guy, and I think Arna gives the best customer service of anybody I've ever seen. So it's money very well spent with Arna. And he's one of our biggest dealers in Norway, of all places. I'm digging these pickups. I'm just starting to get used to it. Good questions here. Being a good dad rules. Thank you, Fonz. Nothing's more important to me. Will there be a new Soho? Martin Gooseland asked. Yeah, eventually. I think it's probably going to be 2 years before we do the Soho. I am going to offer a red line version of the Soho next year, which will be a little more affordable. These are good questions here. This is good. What tonal differences do you hear between the 6L6 of the prototype compared to the EL34s of the producer? Well, each of those tubes have sort of an inherent characteristic. I think the clean sound on this is much more American than the producer. The producer has really good clean sounds that can get very American sounding, but the producer sounds a little more British. The phone is ringing. If I order Jai Andrews, don't call during my show. What's that? That's an order. It's money. Yeah, I'll get it later. The distortion characteristic is really different. This is driving me nuts with the talking caller IDs. Someone answer the phone. So if I go over to the dirty side here, you know, it sounded like I had some bad mic phasing there. Different sound. You know, it's actually more aggressive sounding than an EL34 with the high current thing. So it's a different thing. It's kind of explaining sound is kind of like explaining color. You kind of have to show people. So it's a little more extreme on either end of the scale. Like I'm getting more gain out of this, more distortion. I'm also getting a little bit richer clean sound, but it has that American. So if I go down to just the dirt rhythm sound. So it's just a different thing. Bill, I'll talk about these pickups in a minute because they're brand new and I dig them. The horse is calling now, yeah. Blaine B says, what does British sounding versus American mean to me? That's a good question because these are all subjective sort of things. For me, British sound is very mid-rangey and a lot more aggressive. Whereas American amps, traditional American amps like Fender and Ampeg, they don't have a lot of mid-range in them. They have more bass and they have more treble, but the mid-range is sort of hollowed out. And whereas Marshalls and Voxes coming from England are different. Also, the distortion characteristics of 6L6s are a little rougher than EL34s. EL34s tend to break up in a little sweeter, more mid-rangey, harmonic fashion. 6L6s tend to have a little more ragged to them, you know, when you push them really hard. Both are great. They're just different. You know, I don't know if one's better and worse. They're just different for different applications. That's my understanding of it. You know, take it with a grain of salt. Would you ever do a new Elvis or Tupelo? Yeah, I probably will, but it won't be for 3 or 4 years. Unless I suddenly get the investors that I need and have time to do everything I want to do. Right now, it's just I squeeze it in my spare time. And high watts, exactly. Good point, Chell. High watts are also very mid-rangey amps. So this amp will do that. I mean, I'm over on sort of the British side now, so I can do that sort of, you know, sort of Pete Townsend-y thing. It does that pretty good. But even if I go back over to the American side, because he recorded most of that stuff with a Gretsch guitar and a Fender Bandmaster. And he just used high watts on stage, you know. So let me push this a little harder here. And I'll get you that. These are really low output pickups. I don't know if it'll do it quite right. So if I go over to the British side and do that, you know. It's a different thing. Let me turn the bump off. I don't know how much is coming through on Ustream because my show gets compressed really hard. But in the headphones, the mid-range content is really different. The enhancer. Yeah, I thought about naming it Viagra, but I thought, maybe the drug companies would come after me. Like that actress, what's her name? Sofia Vergara. I do have a Strat. You guys want to hear it? Let me talk about these pickups for a minute and I'll switch over to a Strat. I have my other Les Paul too here just for comparison. So these pickups are made by my good friend Ron Ellis. And they are low output pickups. And he made the first 250 of these for Gibson for their Leroy Parnell artist model. And they sound really like old 50s humbuckers. if you're, I know a lot of you guys, there's all this conjecture about, what 50s Les Pauls sound like, because a lot of them sounded really different from each other. But the ones that I played, the pickups were never strong, and they were kind of twangy. Believe it or not, like you could. Let me go back over the clean side. They're really twangy and chimey. So, what in the world just happened here? Did I lose my show? Oh, there it goes. My stinking computer. Good question here from Alexander Lindbeck. So yeah, they're old school pickups, and I love them. They're not real, Yeah, that sounds like I've played a bunch of 50s Les Pauls. It's kind of the way they sound. None of them are hot at all. So when I see like a PAF that's 9K, I'm like, there were barely any PAFs over 8K. These are 7.4, and I think the neck pickup's 7.2. They're made by Ron Ellis. Let me hold up the box here. And Ron might be on here today. I'm not sure. So this is his 57 humbucker that I have. It's really nice, man. And you run it through. A lot of our amps. It just sounds great. I was playing it through a London yesterday, and it was just dead nuts AC/DC, which I can't really do on a 6L6 thing, but let me get the right pickup. So I think if you Google Ron Ellis pickups, you'll see him. Ron is literally like a rocket scientist. He is a heavy-duty engineer down in San Diego who's also a serious guitar aficionado. He's one of those guys you read about. The man has forgotten more than most people know. And he studied this at a scientific level and got his hands on a lot of old pickups. So he makes Tele pickups and Strat pickups and humbuckers, and they're fantastic. You're absolutely right, Fonzarelli. Higher output pickups hide the natural tones of the guitar. Anything over 9K, you start to get into where there's an unnatural mid-range reaction that happens. And because there's capacitance in the pickup. You have that many windings on it, it starts to add capacitance and resistance to the pickup, which just doesn't balance with the strings. You don't... anything over 9K, you're starting to get more and more like this. You lose high end and you lose low end, and you start to emphasize the mid-range. Like this is not a mid-rangey sound right here at all. When I go over to this channel, not mid. Now, if I put in a really hot guitar, you're going to hear a lot of mid-range. Yes, Paul, the hotter the pickup, the less high end you get out of it, too. But high output pickups are way more forgiving, which is why a lot of people like them. You don't have to hit the guitar, which is saying like, yeah, I want to play golf, but I don't want to swing hard. You got to hit the guitar. You got to play the instrument, It's like you got to play the ball when you're playing sports. So it's the same kind of thing. So a high output pickup is very forgiving. And there is that element too, Fonzarelli. The stronger the magnet, it messes up the rotation of the string. But that's more about Gauss than it is winding. So guys that want to get a big fat distortion sound but don't want to play with real strings or real picks, they tend to go more towards the high output pickups because it's just more forgiving. So they're not as detailed and they're not as articulate as low output pickups. So if you hit a clinker, it doesn't show up as much. Chell says, but you need mids to cut through the mix in a live situation. Yeah, you do need mids, but that's kind of up to your amp. You know, I want to have mids, but not at the expense of everything else. I don't want to lose bottom end. I also don't want to lose the ability to sit here and go. High output pickups won't do that. You know, I mean, without changing a thing, I can go right to. And I'm on the cleanest setting on the amp right now. High output pickups wouldn't have that dynamic range. But, you know, a lot of it's just subjective. There's nothing wrong with high output pickups. I just don't care for them. You know, I was on stage for 12 years, and I started noticing the higher output pickups I used, the actual less I cut through the mix, because my guitar sounded sort of muffled like this, even though there was a lot of mid-range. I didn't get a lot of articulation and clarity, and I found myself having to just slam all the time to get anything out of the guitar. And yeah, there's 13K pickups around. But like this middle position thing here on a Les Paul, you want to get that Albert King sound. You can't do that with high output pickups. Just sit there and go. That doesn't work with high output pickups. It's just going to sound just like this. You know, but you need the. It almost sounds like an acoustic guitar a little bit. You can hear my pick scratching the string on this. High output pickups won't do that. Yeah, man, McStack Sugis 5. That's the best handle still. I love that. But yeah, that's Freddie King, because he was playing a 1960 Gibson ES 355, which had these kind of pickups in it. That's Freddie King, you know. You can't get that sound with high output pickups. And then if I switch over, you know, to do, let me flip this switch here. You know, I can go from. And then go right over. You know, you wouldn't have that dynamic range with high output pickups. It doesn't work. So that was going from voice 1 to voice 4 on the amp, just with one click. So sounds pretty big, doesn't it? There's a lot of vocabulary in there. And the high output pickups give you less vocabulary than that. And that's why I like these. The only thing is these pickups are not forgiving because they're so articulate. If I hit a clinker or my guitar's not set up very well and it gets a lot of fret noise and stuff, you're going to hear it all. So it does make you play better, believe it or not. It's sort of like if you're a golfer, you know that you go out and hit around with blades for 2 weeks, you're going to find that sweet spot better. Yeah, Josh, this is true. Lowering the volume knob on the tone knob on the guitar will make most hot pickups sound decent. But I can't always find the sweet spot on the pickups. I just kind of play with it open, and then I can really back down. Also, what you get now, I'm on the dirtiest side of this. The amp's on 3.5. If I roll my guitar back, yeah, Lagrange, that's a good. Probably too dirty here though. Let's go one notch down. Actually learned how to do that from Billy Gibbons. He was playing a gig over here, some fundraiser for the rainforest or something like that. And he was back there. He was working out. He was playing with Slash, and a couple other guys. And so like, okay, we'll do a Hendrix song and all this sort of stuff. And he goes, hey, let's do LaGrange. Slash, let's do LaGrange. So he had to show Slash how he plays the lick. And I was standing right there and he said, do you mind if I... Oh, no, come on in, man. He was totally fine. But he clacks his ring on the neck. That was part of the whole thing. You can hear it on the record. He's there. I mean, he's doing rim shots also, but he's clacking his ring on the neck of the guitar. I was like, oh, that's how you do it. Because it's so syncopated. I'm like, man, the drummer's got to be really good to catch the up of a beat, you know. I mean, your hand just does it naturally. Come on, computer. There we go. Yep. And I switched just the bump right there. But do you hear how articulate those pickups are? And you still hear some string underneath there. Give us a nice pinched harmonic. Let's see if I get it. Is that it? That's straight amp, no pedal. The pedals are all off right now. I can put some echo on it and make it fine. Too much echo, isn't it? Anyway, that's my pitch for Ron Ellis pickups. And plus, Ron's a super guy. If you ever meet Ron, he's such a gentleman. And he's just a good man. He's a very, very good man. And so look him up, Ron Ellis. He's been threatening to give me these pickups for years. And finally, Peter got a set a couple months ago. And oh my God, you got to get these. Well, that pinched harmonic that you like works better with low output stuff because the pickup has to be articulate enough to hear it. Yeah, you got to have a pickup that can decipher that. So what came about with your high wattage quad power tube idea? Yeah, you know what, Frank? I'm still doing it. And I just kind of want to get 10 people to say they want one. And because I want to build it for fun. You know, like I build these really functional, robust, kind of working man's amps here. But you know, this low voltage, high current thing, I'm really getting sort of intoxicated with the idea that I can make this really sweet, super loud, sweet, clean thing that will do this kind of distortion also. Because all the big clean amps, their distortion's always kind of, you know. Turn that echo off. But yeah, that's his ZZ Top thing. I mean, his 59 Les Paul probably has pickups that are mid sevens, 7.5. So all that ZZ Top stuff is that sound. And I've played ZZ Top enough on this show. I know they're not going to sue me, but... That's the sound. You can't get that with hot pickups. It's easier to play with hot pickups, but you can't get the sound. Let's see. Okay, so there was that. Yeah, I'm kind of a pickup nerd, Bill, and I can tell you what I've learned, and it's not going to help you. this, unfortunately, as in most things with politics and religion, and once you learn the truth, it's not very enlightening. It just kind of is. It's not very dramatic. I'm a pickup nerd, and I've learned that any pickup can sound really good in any guitar. There's so many factors. This is a very lightweight Les Paul, and it's very bright. So some pickups sound fantastic in this guitar, and they sound bad in others. Like the pickups that are in my red Les Paul didn't sound very good in this guitar, but they sound ridiculous in that Les Paul. Because that Les Paul, the neck is very thick and has a lot more wood and weight to it, so that it naturally resonates at lower frequencies. There's a lot of guys making really, really good pickups now, and there's so many that if I said, oh, I like these and those, I would be excluding 10 guys that do really good. But, you know, I have Tim White humbuckers in that other one, and they're awesome. These are made by Ron Ellis. The ones I had in this guitar before were made by Peter Florence, Voodoo, and I really love those. I have some Seymour Duncan Antiquities in my 335 that I think sound ridiculous for that guitar. I know Lindy Fralin makes some really good ones. I have another guitar with Jason Lawler's low output humbuckers. They sound great. No, Ron Ellis is in San Diego. He's an engineer down in North San Diego County. Frank says, I was taking the dogs out. What's the ohms on the humbuckers? These are really low output ones. The bridge pickup is 7.4, and I think the neck pickup is 7.1, 7.2. It's very low. I don't own any Tom Holmes pickups, Andre. I've played them. I really like them. I think they're really similar to these. And they're really similar to the Tim Whites. These guys are making like vintage correct stuff. They're not going for a specific sound. I see a lot of guys like this pickup will make you sound like Jimmy Page or something. But this is, you know, they've done like the engineering research. I don't know, Lindy Fralin's done that. Jason Lawler's done it. Ron's done it to an unbelievable level. Tim White, who made these other pickups for my Les Paul, is a NASA engineer in Alabama. Yeah, this guy really got serious about like the metallic content of the magnets, and you know. Oh, you got the Dirty Blondes, huh? Yeah, that's what it's in my Strat, which I'll hook my Strat up here. I have Jason Lawler's Dirty Blondes in there, and I love them. I mean, this amp's on 3.5. I'm getting plenty of dirt. You know, if I was playing a hotter pickup, it'd be way dirtier. But the amp is a lot of your sound, HMS Hood, but the thing is, the amp only does what you tell it to do. So this amp is solid state rectified, by the way, Dave. A lot of current. The Tim Whites that I have are not very hot, actually. They're hotter than these. I think the bridge is 8.2, somewhere around there, 8.4 maybe. So they're kind of medium hot. They're hotter than these, definitely. How does a prototype take pedals? Well, let's turn on some pedals. I'll put on a little compression and some echo. A lot of echo, isn't it? I can't do Zeppelin. They're going to come after me, aren't they? Hey, Mama. No, I can't. Who was that comedian that used to do that? Judy. Yeah, right. Judy Tenuta. She did that. Used to do that singing thing where she just squealed. Hey, Mama said the way you move don't make you sweat, don't make you groove. But this thing has a pretty strong booster in it. Let me push the front end really hard on this. just slamming the front end of this amp right now. Endless sustain. And that's as much gain as you're ever going to get out of a tube right there. I mean, this signal's 5 times bigger than the guitar alone. So let me turn that off. You can hear this is regular. Now if I turn this on, Van Halen, yes, I can sort of. I can't do that crap at all. But you get the idea. Yeah, it takes pedals. I think it does really well. There's also I have 2 picks. I have one in my mouth and one in my hand. There's also an effects loop in the back, which I'm not plugged into today. I'm just going straight in. Oh no, there's no Van Halen here, man. I ain't got that. I ain't got that kind of game at all. They're all writing in Dan Halen, Dan Halen. So my buddy Sam's here. I grew up with this guy, and he's just one of my favorite people in the world. But so what the guy saw a few weeks ago, you remember what I looked like in the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
With the long curly hair and all that stuff.
Your friends, baby.
Yeah. So for like 3 weeks, everyone on the show was calling me Dan Jovi. I was like, yeah, Kip Wingard. Yeah. I mean, this will do that Van Halen sort of sound. But it doesn't have that EL34 thing, but it does it. Get a little less echo here. That's without, I mean, this is straight in. There's the seaside, honey. You know. You get the idea. Justin, you're funny. I'm not even going to say that because people won't see that on the recording. So yeah, when I went to, I don't know if I can play the lick anymore. So when I went to GIT in the 80s, everyone was sitting around doing that. You know. I hate that stuff. I mean, I like watching other guys do it, but when you see a band do it in a bar, you're like, okay. It's cool watching Eddie Van Halen do it because he invented it, you know. But it's like, you know, if you heard, it's like you listen to anyone else in the world go. It's not good because it's not Chuck, you know. It's like Chuck does it. Also a Missouri guy, by the way. But you know, I can play it exactly like Chuck did, but it doesn't sound as good. If you closed your eyes, you couldn't tell if it was Chuck or me. But for some reason, he does it better. And same with the two-handed stuff. So me being sort of a small town guy, how did it go? How did it go? I can't remember it now. God, it's so long. But I came up with this whole series of like country licks, only two-handed tapping. You know, just crazy stuff. It's been 25 years. I can't remember it now, but I hated it. I mean, and Eddie Van Halen doesn't play with high output pickups. The pickup that was in this guitar was the one that Seymour makes for Eddie. The pickup that Eddie uses is one Seymour Duncan makes for him. And it was 8.8, I think. It was a little hotter than normal, but he said Eddie always plays with the guitar rolled back, so then when he takes a solo, he just rolls it back up to full output. So his rhythm playing, he's always got the guitar on 7. So, you know, same as having a low output pickup. I just heard that last night, Meatloaf. wrong key. All right, it's already 1 o'clock. Holy cow. All right, let's do some Strat. Let's do some Strat, and I have a Telecaster here also. But anyway, there it is. This is my, what year is this Les Paul? Wendy, my wife got this for me when I turned 40. So 2005. And everything's pretty stock. I put Tone Pro's bridge on it. But yeah, these are Ron Ellis pickups, and they're fantastic. And I highly recommend checking them out if you're interested. So let me put a Strat on. We'll get some different sounds. And then let's talk about some tech stuff if you want to. If you got some technical questions. I know there's a lot of amp builders on here, so I don't really have any secrets, and I'm not arrogant enough to tell you that I've invented anything with 60, 70-year-old technology. So if you want to ask any questions, go for it. Yes, I have shorts on. It's LA. Actually, most of the time I don't have any pants on when I'm here because it gets hot under here under the lights. I watch this mostly to see and hear Dan play. David, you are such a generous guy. It's my friend David Hayes down in Georgia, who also makes really, really nice amps. And he's a Fender guy. He makes Fenders better than Fender does, and does it really well. Pants on the ground. That's right. You guys are naked too? Oh, this is perfect. Wow, there's a lot of naked dudes on here. Is this show gay? We'll save that for next week. Not. That's all right. You can be gay. I don't care. It's not a two-way camera. I can't see what you're wearing, so. Baseface Josh says, what are these pants you guys always talk about? Yeah, exactly. It's like high 80s today in LA, I think. A little bump on. Oh, I have the compressor on still. That's why I'm not getting much dynamics out of it. I still have that guy going? Yeah. Completely dry. Get your good. That's a little bit of dirt, not much. And Paul in Norway says, I've got my wool underwear. Yeah, it's already wintertime there, isn't it? Probably go over the British side. Oops. Ring's nice, huh? Doesn't it? And these are Jason Lawler's Dirty Blondes. You have floods in England, really? What part of England are you in, Fonz? Oh, yeah, T2L. Yeah, you can't put up the. Hang on a second. Let me turn on the links. McSex Stooges. Allow links. Okay, go ahead. The Northeast. So you're up, what, Manchester kind of thing? Got floods up there. Hey, Master Sonics. Hey, Charles. You and I have been playing phone tag all morning, haven't we? Oh, yeah. Oh, Darlington. I know that. I played that song with Kemp and Singleton in 7th grade.
So your heart was making a comeback?
Hart? Oh yeah, they still play out here all the time. Nancy Wilson lives here, and they still sound great. Manchester is northwest. Sorry, Fonz. It's been a while. I used to live in England, but it's been 20 years. I apologize. I lived in London, so my northern geography wasn't that great. Sounds great. What's different? A little tweaky tweak here and there. Nothing huge. I still love the song. Did you ever hear it before ELO did it when their band was The Move? It was the same exact band, only one different guy. It was, what's his name? Roy Wood and Jeff Lynne.
One of them died. Hay bale hit him on the head or something.
Yeah. And so Roy Wood and Jeff Lynne just couldn't breathe the same air. They didn't get along. And they would cut all the songs that ELO did pretty much were recorded by The Move. And then, but they hadn't secured the publishing or anything like that. And Jeff Lynne formed ELO and just cut Move songs. His first 2 records were all songs done by The Move. But you know, the original one...
Are there Move recordings?
I don't know. You know, it's just the same exact song, but like, you know, the ELO version is like big, heavy. But the Move version is like twangy 60s pop thing. Same exact song, though. I mean, it's just crazy. And I didn't know that until about 10 years ago. I'd never heard of The Move. Great whiskey in Scotland. Every time I say whiskey, the phone rings. Are you ready? Whiskey. Yeah, great whiskey in Scotland. That's where they invented whiskey. That's right. Yes. I don't know, I still love it. Seriously, like the first day I ever put a band together. It's 3 chords. The whole song is... And I'm talking, there's a friend of mine here, someone's asking, a friend of mine here that I grew up with who's out here visiting, out here working in California and came out here to visit. And the guys that were in my first band were on the football team with this guy. So when they were showing up for football practice like hungover and tired, it's because we had band practice after football practice. And but yeah, I was in 7th grade. Those guys were in 8th grade. It's going, do you want my love? I could sing that high when I was 12 years old, you know. Woman. It's a great tune. And, oh, you're very generous, Doug. No, absolutely not. Your great-grandfather invented whiskey. Oh, nice. That's quite a claim. Yeah, Doug Guillaume says, you must have been a god in school. No. I was a nerd that liked to play guitar. You know, I tell you what it was, too, because I screwed up my knee trying to play football at Rockbridge. I was on the team for weeks, and then messed up my knee. And I quickly realized in junior high that the minute I picked up an electric guitar, 9th grade girls started talking to me. Remember, her name is so ironic, too, Tammy Raper.
Oh, yeah. I remember Tammy.
And I had a big crush on her when I was 12. And all of a sudden, they all started talking to me. Like I was a 7th grade just doink, you know. And all of a sudden, 9th grade girls were coming to my house. Hey, how you doing? We were just in the neighborhood. Thought we'd ring the bell. Yeah, what do you want? Nothing. Just thought we'd come say hi. Really? Okay. Come on in. Would you play some guitar for us? Yeah, sure. I'll do that. No problem. And then I hurt my knee seriously when I was 15. So I sat around on the sofa for 2 months like this. And couldn't go play ball. I couldn't do anything. I sat around playing guitar all day, every day. I was like, oh yeah, this works. And then that's when I fell in love with the instrument. Like, oh, this is actually fun. Learn how to really play. Or at least play a lot better than I did before. Because before I was just a nerd going, hey, this is cool, girls, look. And then I fell in love with the instrument over there. Yeah, David Hayes, your great-grandfather invented whiskey. You must be 200 years old. Oh, they were moonshiners. Oh, okay, well, fair enough. They invented their own kind of whiskey, that's for sure. That's a long story that I won't tell, but I believe you, Dave. No worries. I used to go hiking up in North Georgia, like around Dalton and all those places. Used to ride my motorcycle up into the mountains and then go hiking. And I was up there with a friend. It's when I lived in Atlanta, and I accidentally walked into a still. And I was with a couple of guys from Georgia. They didn't say anything. They saw the still and they turned around and ran the opposite direction. I'm like, hey, where you going? Look, it's a still. I'm like, I didn't realize I was about ready to get killed. And they're like, dude, leave now. We're going to get shot. And I had no idea. I was like, I've never seen a still. Let's go look. There's a copper still out in the woods. Steam coming out of it, I guess the guy that was manning the still went off to use a bathroom or something. We just kind of came in at the right moment. And these guys ran like their life was in danger, because apparently it was. Yes, Fonzarelli, I told you the very short version of the story. Let's go over to the American side and do that same sort of thing. I need to turn it up a little bit. The Strat. I can't play guitar now. Take the last train to Clarksville. That kind of sound. It does it. Let's see, what do we got here? Good questions. Gotta go, Dan. Great show. Bye, all. Thank you, Fonzarelli. Appreciate you coming in. Chin chin, cheerio. I hope you're not affected by those floods. I wish you all the best. Does this one have the mid scoop like a blackface? Not intentionally. I mean, the 6L6s kind of have a mid scoop to them, so. Where is Peter? I was kind of hoping he'd be here today. Peter is over at NBC right now, sound checking for The Tonight Show. I need to mention that. Peter is on The Tonight Show tonight playing for Richie Sambora. And he's filling in for our customer and good buddy from Atlanta, David Ryan Harris, who is out for a minute. But David Ryan Harris will be doing the tour with Sambora. But Peter's filling in for him. Because our other business partner, Phil Cassins, manages Richie Sambora. So when our Atlanta buddy David couldn't finish the gig, hey, Peter, what are you doing for a few weeks? I don't think I'm going to go over. I'm kind of busy, and then when Richie lives here in LA, he lives here in the Valley, so other end of the Valley, and I think everyone he knows is going to be at the show, and it's pretty hard for me to get in. Because surprisingly, the Tonight Show studio is not very big. Richie did use our amps to record a lot of the record, but he uses Marshalls on stage because he's Richie. He has to play Marshalls. I'd love to go over, but they're playing in LA all the time. Like, I've seen them twice since they've been here. And the Tonight Show is just sort of, Can I make the neck pickup distorted like Cream? Well, yeah, that was a humbucker that Clapton used, but I can do that. Real Marshalls or cardboard cutouts? Oh, I think they're JCM 800s. That's it. I can do the woman tone with a Les Paul if you want me to do that really quick before we get finished today. Which models does Richie favor in the studio? He's got 3 of our amps. He's got 2 high-powered Monterey's, which those are the ones you saw him playing on Saturday Night Live. And then he's got a one-of-a-kind that we made for him that has 2 EL34s. It's kind of like a Soho, only it has EL34s, and it has an extra gain stage in it. And that's his sort of sizzler. And he records with that a lot. Here, let me get my other Les Paul real quick. I'll give you a Clapton woman tone really fast. There's Clapton calling, saying, "Don't do it. Leave me alone." So, John Gaynor. Sozo Caps. Let's see what we got here. So I can roll the tone all the way off. Of course, I'm playing Allman Brothers like now, but you get it. So there you go. Kind of Clapton. I can't remember all the Cream licks for some reason. I never learned that many Cream songs. I like to listen to them, but I never sat down and learned them. You know, I learned all the obligatory. Oh, right. Alexander Lindback. I'm sorry. I didn't answer your question, and it's a good question. So Alexander asked, please, Dan, what are your thoughts on the American Europe 120, 240 volt sound? There's no difference in the sound because of the voltage, because the voltage that your tubes are running on don't come out of the wall. They come from the power transformer. 240 volts isn't enough. So the power transformer transforms either 120 volts coming out of our wall or 240 volts coming out of your wall into the necessary amount of voltage for these tubes. So internally, the amps operate exactly the same. The only thing that does affect the sound of a European version of our amp versus an American version is that your power resonates at 50 hertz, and we have 60 hertz. So amps over here hum at a little bit over A sharp. Amps in Europe hum at G. 50 hertz resonates, the node is G. I mean, any amp that runs, can't really hear it on this, but just under B. So I actually prefer the sound of tube amps in Europe because they resonate at G. And they sound great over there. Let me see. A little. Here I go. Well, I can't affect what Doug Guillaume says. Hey, maybe you could build an amp to resonate in A. Um, no, I can't. I can't change the frequency at which the alternating current comes through the wall. I don't have my own power company, unfortunately. I can't do that. But, you know, US amps, we have to filter a little harder because of that. That's like when you get like a British Marshall. If any of you guys, like I brought a bunch of amps back from England when I moved over here, and they all hum really loud because they were designed to work on European power. But yeah, these are also lower output pickups, but not as low as the Ron Ellis's. These are... But we're getting to 120 here now, so it might be time to think about cutting off. Alexander, did that answer your question? Are you cool with that? I think I was getting onto the 50, 60 hertz thing right when you were typing it. There's a little bit of a delay here. I'm about 10 seconds ahead of you guys. So, but yeah, even with these pickups, I can get that Freddie King thing. But you'll notice after playing those Ron Ellis pickups, God damn it. Playing the Ron Ellis, which are lower output than these, you'll notice that those sounded more like Freddie King than these do. And these are pretty low output, but you know, doing... Let me get the right channel here. Still sounds like Freddie, but not quite as much as those lower output ones, because these are 8K, and the bridge pickup is 8K. So, still got that thing, but it's not as much as those 7.4 or 7.2Ks. Oops. How's the turnaround lick? There you go. Nice honky mid-range kind of bite thing in that amp. Yeah, absolutely. If I go over to the British side and turn it up a little bit here. Let me turn it up to 5, so my the bump off on the British side. There's a really long, interesting discussion to have about getting old 50 sounds out of Les Pauls, because when you realize that in 1959, all of these pickups were 7K, low 7s, and the lightest strings that you could buy in 1959 were 12s with a wound G. That's different than what it is now. A lot of guys want to play 9s and have pickups that are 8, 9, 10K. And it's not the same thing at all. It's a big different thing. So, I mean, I'm playing 10 to 52s on this. You know, kind of a medium. Yeah, Chell, there's bass and treble on the American side. The British side just have a tone knob. Yeah. If you build the amp correctly, you don't need all that stuff. HMS Hood, good point. Did you say you wouldn't be here next week because you have a trip to the 51st state? I do. I will be in Puerto Rico next week. So if you go to our YouTube channel, it'll just be this week's show playing again. I'll try to check in and say hi if I can. I know my schedule is really crazy when I'm down there, but if there's any way I can check in, I guess it would be 3 o'clock over there. I'll try to log on and at least say hi. But had a song in my head I was trying to remember. Yeah, so I'll be around. I'll be on... yeah, say hola. I will. I'm really looking forward to going to Puerto Rico. I'm going to have a good time and get lots of very productive work done. So. With a drink in the hand. I don't know how much drinking I'll be doing there. It's really a work trip. I'm sure I'll have a little bit. Hey, Joe Riggio, what's happening, man? You're not late. We're just about done. Good question here, Bill Strange. Did you say that choosing the right speaker can make an amp louder? Yeah, the SPL level is what you want to look for. We use the highest SPL speakers that Celestion makes, and sound pressure level is measured at 1 watt in equals this much noise out. So we use the Alnico Blue and the G12H30, which are much higher SPL than like a greenback. So it makes a low-powered amp sound really good. I know, Doug, I've never heard of McQueen pickups, so I'll check them out. See, someone mentioned earlier this sounds a lot like the producer. This distortion to me sounds very different than the producer in person. It sounds a little more modern and high gain at the same gain levels in the tubes. They sound a little more menacing to me here. Slider pickups from Australia. Ah, check them out. Will changing tubes on the prototype require rebiasing? No. This is cathode biased, so it auto biases itself. So if you blow a tube on the middle of a gig, stick another one in and it works. You don't have to take it to a tech who's going to charge you $50 to do 90 seconds worth of work. I can tell you from biasing amps, if it takes more than a minute and a half, something's going wrong with your amp. Biasing, it's more trouble to get the chassis out of the amp than it is to... Joe, this is my new prototype. You'll have to watch the show, unfortunately, because I'm going to log off here in a second. Pretty darn dirty, isn't it? That's a little dirtier than the producer. Yeah, there's some ZZ stuff in there. Definitely lots of ZZ Top tone in there. And he recorded a lot of American amps. Cranked up, juiced up Fenders. I'm having having trouble remembering. Oh, here's what it is. Hang on a second. That sounds pretty freaking evil, doesn't it? Yeah, when I have a producer here, I'll IBM. I don't know how much it's going to translate over Ustream, but hopefully it'll be pretty good. I love those records. See, I'm thinking about records from high school now. Because my old friend's here. You gotta do this. Alright guys, I'm gonna call off the guitar playing for the day. You got any questions? Sort of last call. I'll hang out here for a few minutes and we can come up with something that works. But anyway, yeah, this is our 6L6 prototype. It's a high current, low voltage thing, which you're going to see really extended tube life on it and better performance. So unlike most low voltage amps, we're actually increasing the current. So instead of just starving the tubes, we're just letting them run in a different fashion. It has our master voltage on it. It's 2 channels, each with a bump. So you got 4 voices on it. It has a passive effects loop in the back. And it'll be priced exactly like the producer. Yeah, Joe, we need to get a dealer in Seattle. I don't know what's going on up there. I'm thinking about opening up a platinum room there just because the only dealers over there, they don't want to stock high-end stuff. They make all their money on guitars. One more question. Just wondering about the difference between the red line and the blue line cabs. Well, they're exactly the same except for one thing. On the red line cabs, we use the standard joinery that all other boutique companies use, which is sort of a rabbet joint. On the blue line cabinets, we use half-blind dovetail joints. So there's 2 differences there. They're not really better or worse. The dovetail joints cost a lot more in labor. But the dovetail joints are going to have less bass in the cabinet, and it's going to resonate really crisp and clean. That's so funny. There's good comments coming here. I'm getting distracted. Whereas the rabbit joint cabinet's going to have a little more thump to it, a little more low end, but it's not as rugged as the dovetail joints. So 99% of boutique guys are using the rabbit joints. Now the made in China stuff, they're just nailing the wood together. Oh, good questions. Okay, good. Let me get to all these. So let me get here closer to the microphone so I don't have to yell. Bring it over here now. I didn't want it to pick up too much of the guitar. So yeah, that's it. Other than that, same speaker, same wood. It's the same void-free Baltic birch and everything. So our red line is like kind of everybody else's boutique stuff. The blue line is the crazy stuff. How did you decide what voltage to run the 6L6s? Actually, I just use our master voltage and dial it down to where I like it, and then call over to Mercury and go, make me primaries that have this much voltage on them. What about Primax HMS Hood? They're a stocking dealer of ours. They're good guys over there. They'll take care of you. It's funny. Oh, this is funny. It's funny. You playing other musician stuff has made me purchase their CDs, and some lawyer is pissed at you for making the band more money. You're absolutely right. I don't get it. I wasn't charging anybody to hear me screw up Led Zeppelin licks. I'll screw up licks for free. That's not a problem. See, Dan, when you use the term British, do you mean Vox-like rather than Marshally more often than not? No. A little bit of both. I think of British, I think of just not so much the behavior of the amp, because Marshalls and Voxes behave very differently, but they're both very heavy mid-range sounding amps. And of course, the Voxes focus more on EL84s, and the Marshalls. That's the barn again. Hang on a second. Hello. Hi, Bunny. How are you? Almost. I'm almost finished, baby. Can I? Okay. Why don't you stay there by that phone, and I'll call back in like 5 minutes. Okay. All right. Love you, sweetie. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye. 9-year-old daughter, man. It's good to be the king. Yeah, that's what I meant, Rock and Roll Willie. It's a generic way to say things. You know, British amps are more mid-rangey. American amps don't have a lot of mid-range. That's the main difference. Thanks, Dan. Great show. Got to get a 65 cab to go with my Ventura head. Yes, please. They're all designed around our cabinets. So if you like it with someone else's cabinet, you're going to love it with ours. We spent a lot of time getting those right. So any other questions before I head off? We got a really big crowd here today. I appreciate it, guys. I didn't even put up the notice today for the show. Let me know if you got any other questions or thoughts or concerns or anything. I'm always on Facebook, and I'm a goofy nerd on Facebook. What is this? What is this picture you're putting up here, Josh? Oh my God, where did you get that picture? That's hilarious. Where did you get that? Oh my goodness, that's funny. That is great. Let me download that picture. That's so funny. I'm flattered. Look at this picture. Look at this, Sam.
I see it.
That's
hilarious.
That's very funny. Where did you get that picture? I can't see your chat right now because I'm looking at it. Call the barn. Yeah. That is so funny. Where'd you get that, Josh? You made it? Oh, that's hilarious. Definitely better than Robomni. Oh, well, thank you. It's kind of a backhanded compliment to say we like you more than two asshole politicians, but I'll take it. Ta-ta, no floods here. Okay, very good. That pic is hilarious. Thank you, Josh. Josh makes me laugh every show. He does something that I just die laughing. I love it. Yes, I'm a dedicated centrist, so I hope that I'm better than Robomni. But I don't want to talk about politics. For me, politics is kind of a joke. Two main reasons, one of which is I have a degree in political science. And once it's like you see behind the curtains of what politics really is, it just kind of makes you not care. But anyway, any other questions? Thank you very much, Babyface Josh. That's awesome. I love it. I downloaded it to my desktop. That's really funny. Post it on Facebook if you want. That's very good. Obamacon me. Well, oh, okay. That's funny. So yes, I won't be here next week, but 2 weeks from now, I will have a lot to go. So once again, this amp, you can start to order right now through your dealers, starting on Monday. And if you put some money down, we will put you in the front of the queue. If not, you just kind of have to wait. Thank you, Frank Schotoffer. I appreciate it sincerely. Also on that big amp I was talking about on Facebook, if any of you guys are actually interested in doing that, write me a note on the side. So I can't really just make one. I need to make about 10 of them for it to be sort of worthwhile. But I got to charge a lot of money for it. Alrighty. Okay, fellas. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I sincerely appreciate it. Again, today is September 26, 2012. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Alrighty, fellas. Take care. Bye-bye.